Imagine waking up to the news that a world leader has been arrested, not by his own police, but by a foreign military. Well, on January 3rd, 2026, that's exactly what happened. Let's break down the incredible story of how the U.S. captured the president of Venezuela.
Okay, so let's set the scene. It's January 3rd, 2026. It's still dark in Caracas, Venezuela, and while the city sleeps, something is about to happen that will send shockwaves across the entire globe. Something that really could change the rules of the game for good.
The name of the U.S. military operation? Operation Absolute Resolve. I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? But this wasn't about taking over a country. Nope. The target was just one person, and man, was it fast. We're talking about a lightning-quick 3-part raid. First, at 2 in the morning, bam, airstrikes hit northern Venezuela and the capital. Then the U.S. Army's elite Delta Force goes in, storming President Maduro's residence. And the final step? They arrest President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, literally while they were asleep. Just incredible. And they didn't waste a second. Maduro was whisked away to a U.S. naval ship and put on a plane straight to New York. Before that same day was even over, he was in a federal detention center in Brooklyn. Think about that for a minute. A sitting president taken from his home and put in a U.S. prison, all in less than 24 hours. So you've got a head of state yanked out of his bed in a military raid, and now he's in a jail cell in Brooklyn. The big question, the one you're probably asking right now, is how? How in the world did we get here?
Well, this whole thing didn't just happen overnight. The real story here is a long one, built on years and years of bad blood and some really serious accusations. So let's look at how things heated up. This goes way back. In 2020, the U.S. actually put a bounty on Maduro's head. Fast forward to 2024, Venezuela has an election, but the U.S. and a lot of other countries said, nope, we don't buy the results. Then, right before the raid in January 2026, the U.S. Justice Department basically said, we're upping the ante.
And when I say they upped the ante, I mean, look at this number, $50 million. That's not just a warning shot. That's a huge, flashing neon sign that says the U.S. government is dead serious. So what's the official charge? What's the legal reason for all this? It all comes down to this term, narco-terrorism. The U.S. has been saying for years that Maduro's government is basically a criminal organization, that it's deeply involved with a drug trafficking group called the Cartel of the Suns. Pretty wild name, right? It supposedly comes from the sun symbols on the uniforms of the Venezuelan generals who were allegedly running the show.
But it wasn't just about the drug charges. You had this perfect storm of political pressure, too. For one, a lot of the world didn't even recognize Maduro as the legitimate president after that 2024 election. And on top of that, you had constant, serious accusations of human rights abuses by his regime. For the U.S., you put all that together, and suddenly a military operation like this starts to look like, well, an option on the table.
So the raid happens. Maduro is in U.S. custody. And you can bet the rest of the world had opinions. The news absolutely exploded, and pretty much everyone had to pick a side.
And really, it boils down to two completely different realities. On one hand, you have the U.S. saying, hey, this was a legal arrest, we had a warrant, and we were protecting our interests. Then on the other side, you have Venezuela saying, are you kidding me? This was an invasion, an act of aggression, a total violation of our country. I mean, you couldn't get two more opposite takes on the same event.
And you can see how carefully the U.S. chose their words. They kept repeating, this is not an invasion. This is law enforcement. It's a really important distinction, right? Because calling it law enforcement is an attempt to sidestep that whole messy question of whether or not you just started a war. Meanwhile, back in Caracas, the government is in full-on damage control mode. Of course, they condemn the raid, but their top priority is showing that they're still in charge. So their Supreme Court acts fast, naming the vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, as the new acting president. The goal is to avoid a total collapse of power. Okay, so where do we go from here? Maduro's in jail, there's a new acting leader in Venezuela. What happens next? Well, to figure that out, we actually have to look back in time. Believe it or not, there's a playbook for this. This has happened before. You have to go back to 1989, when the U.S. invaded Panama specifically to arrest its leader, Manuel Noriega. And guess what he was charged with? Drug trafficking. Sounds familiar, right? That case, decades ago, really paved the way for what's happening now. So the very next step is court.
Maduro is scheduled to show up in a federal courthouse in Manhattan. And this is where it gets legally complicated. You're going to hear experts talk about sovereign immunity. That's the basic idea that one country can't just prosecute another country's leader. But, and this is a big but, the U.S. courts will probably point right back to that Noriega case. The precedent they set back then was basically, we don't care how you got here, you're here now, so our court gets to hear the case.
And that's what this whole incredible story leaves us with. It's a huge, messy question. At what point does enforcing the law across a border just become an act of war? Where is that line? And maybe more importantly, who gets to draw it? It's something to really think about.